press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello everyone. So the 20th chapter of first PUC is locomotion and movement. Locomotion and movement is brought about by the coordinated activities of three important systems in our body. One is the neural system, the second is the muscular system, and the other is the skeletal system. So in this video, we are going to study some of the aspects of skeletal system. So first of all, to know the skeleton, human skeleton, what are the functions of this human skeleton? The skeleton, human beings possess both exoskeleton and also endoskeleton. And now I am speaking about the endoskeleton, which is present inside the body. And this endoskeleton forms the framework of our body. Forms the framework of our body. And this skeletal system gives a definite shape and structure to our body. Shape and structure to our body. This skeletal system is also protecting the vital organs of our body. Protecting the vital organs of our body. And this skeletal system is giving the mechanical support to our body. It is providing the mechanical support to the various organs and tissues. And finally, they provide space for attachment of muscles. Attachment of muscles. They provide space for the attachment of muscles. So they form the framework of our body. They are providing a definite shape and structure. Imagine if we didn't have this endoskeleton. The whole of the muscle mass of our body would have fallen on the ground, and we would have just crawled on the ground. So that is not that didn't happen because we have the skeletal system, the endoskeleton, which is providing the mechanical support, and thereby it is also giving a definite shape and structure to our body. And these bones or the skeleton is also providing the protection to the various vital organs. For example, the brain, which is one of the vital organ or the very important organ, is protected by the skull, which is made up of bone. And this skeletal system is providing mechanical support. Our body is standing stiffly erect on the ground because of it is providing the mechanical support. And finally, these bones are providing space for the attachment of muscles. Thereby, the skeletal muscles can attach themselves to the skeleton, and therefore they get the name skeletal muscles. So these are the important functions of the skeletal system. And now coming to the components of the skeletal system. The skeletal system comprises of two important components. One is called as the bone and the other is called as the cartilage. And the other is called as the cartilage. So bone, both of them are connective tissues. Both of them are connective tissues. Bone is hard and brittle. The bone is hard and brittle, and the matrix is made up of calcium salts. The matrix is made up of calcium salts. Whereas the cartilage, they are soft and flexible. They are soft and flexible. They help in the attachment of bones. They help in the attachment of different bones. They are soft and flexible because they are made up of chondriatin salts. Chondriatin salts. So we know that the matrix of the cartilage is called as chondrin, and the chondrin in it contains chondriatin salts. Whereas the osseous tissue consists of the matrix, which consists of calcium salts, thereby making the bone hard and brittle. So these are the two important components which form the human skeletal system. And now coming to the bone. So the bones in human body, there are about 206 bones. The adult human body comprises of 206 bones, and these bones present in the body have been broadly classified into axial skeleton, and appendicular skeleton, Axial skeleton, which refers to the main axis of the body, that is the head, the trunk portion, including the abdomen. You call it as the axial skeleton. The appendicular skeleton, the appendages which are attached to the main axis of the body, they comprise of the appendicular skeleton. So this axial skeleton is identified under three important regions. One is the skull, the second is the vertebral column, and the third is sternum and rib cage. So the skull, the axial skeleton, all in total has got 80 bones, whereas the appendicular skeleton all in total has got 126 bones, total which counts to 206. The skull is made up of, the skull has got 22 bones, the vertebral column has got 26 bones, and the sternum and rib cage. Sternum is one bone and the rib cage is formed by 12 pairs of bones. That is nearly 12 pairs counts to 24 and 1. 24 plus 1 will be 25. So 25, 26 and 22. I know it doesn't count to 80. There are also some other bones to be studied under the axial skeleton, which we will count it later. So the skull, that is the one which covers the brain box, which is also called as, which covers the brain, consists of 22 bones. The vertebral column, that is the backbone, comprises of 26 bones, and the sternum is the midline of the thorax, which consists of a single flat bone which is called as the sternum, and the bones which are attached to the sternum ventrally and dorsally to the vertebral column, they are about 12 pairs, so which counts to 24 bones. So these are the bones present in the axial skeleton. So the appendicular skeleton comprises of limbs and girdles. So the limbs, the appendages which are attached to the main axis of the body, that is the hands and the legs. The hands are referred as the forelimbs and the legs are referred as the hind limbs. So they form the appendicular skeleton, and the girdles are the framework which attach these appendages, that is the limbs, to the main axis of the body. So limbs and girdles are studied under appendicular skeleton, and the bones of the skull, vertebral column and the sternum and rib cage are studied under axial skeleton. So to start with, we are going with the skull. The skull, which consists of 22 bones. The skull, which consists of 22 bones, is further divided into cranial bones and facial bones. The cranial bones, they are 8 in number, and the facial bones, they are 14 in number. The cranial bones, they are 8 in number. The facial bones, they are 14 in number. So let us list out the bones. Today in this video I am not going with the diagrams. Instead I am going to come back with all the images along with a PPT and we will take the final count of all the bones. Here in this video we are going to list out the different types of bones present in each part. So the cranial bones, which are 8 in number, which are those? Frontals, parietals, occipitals, temporal, parietals, frontal, occipital, temporal, and ethmoid and sphenoid. So these are the various bones of the cranium, and here there are 2 parietals and 2 temporals. Remaining all, there are only 1 bone. Remaining all are 1 in number. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, 7 and 8. So 8 cranial bones. 1 frontal, 2 parietals, 1 occipital, 2 temporals, 1 ethmoid and 1 sphenoid or the cranial bones. Coming to the facial bones, which are 14 in number. They are nasals, inferior nasal concave, lacrimals, palatines, zygomatic, maxillae, mandible, and omer. Mandible and omer, each of it is 1 in number, where our nasals 2, inferior nasal concave 2, lacrimals 2, palatines 2, zygomatic 2, maxillae 2. Whereas mandible and omer, they are 1 in number. So 2 plus 2 4, 4 plus 2 6, 6 plus 2 is 8, 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 plus 2 is 12, 12, 13, 1 mandible, 14, 1 omer. So 14 facial bones and 8 cranial bones, which comprises of the skull. So in the skull we include one more bone, which is called as the hyoid bone, which is present at in the buccal cavity, which is called as the hyoid bone, which is also taken in the skull itself. It is also taken in the skull itself. So 22 bones of the skull plus this hyoid. Along with this, we have 3 tiny bones in the middle ear. So the middle ear comprises of 3 tiny bones. The malleus, the 3 tiny bones are malleus, incus and stapes. So hyoid is 1 bone and 2 malleus, 2 incus and 2 stapes, because we have 2 ears, right? So 2 middle ears, we have 2 malleus, 2 incus and 2 stapes. So total of skull has got 22 bones, 8 cranial bones and 14 facial bones. Along with that, we have a single hyoid bone and 3 tiny bones in the middle ear, which is malleus, incus and stapes. So now moving on to the second part of the axial skeletal system, that is the vertebral column. Vertebral column. Vertebral column, the backbone which you call it as, and this vertebral column consists of tiny bones which are serially arranged on the dorsal part of our body. So starting from the neck portion which ends towards the seat position of the trunk, there are nearly 26 tiny bones which are called, and each of it is called as a vertebrae. Each of it is called as a vertebrae. The first bone of the vertebral column is called as the atlas. The first vertebrae of the vertebral column is called as the atlas, and this atlas joins with the skull at the occipital condyles. With the help of occipital condyles, it articulates or joins or attaches. The skull attaches to the vertebral column with the help of this occipital condyles and atlas. Both of them articulate or attach to each other so that the vertebral column is connected with the skull. So this vertebrae, which is 26 in number, consists of a tiny bone wherein the vertebrae consists of a neural canal, a spine and two processes, dorsal processes. So through this neural canal passes the spinal cord. So this vertebral column gives great protection to the spinal cord. The spinal cord is highly protected by this vertebral column, and this vertebral column consists of 26 small pieces of bones on our back. Each of it is called as a vertebrae, and this vertebrae has been divided into different types. So these 26 bones of the vertebral column is divided into cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral and coccygeal or coccyx. So the cervical bones, they are 7 vertebrae. The thoracic vertebrae, they are 12 in number. The lumbar, they are 5 in number. The sacral, 1 in number, and the coccyx is 1 in number. So 12 plus 7 is 19, 19 plus 5 is 24, 24, 25 and 26. So total of 26 vertebrae or the small tiny bones present in the vertebral column. And this vertebral column is a great protection to the spinal cord. So 7 cervical vertebrae which are present in the neck region, and the thoracic in the entire thorax in the back position. So thoracic region they are present, lumbar in the trunk region, lower trunk, and at the seat position you have the sacral and coccyx. These are the various bones of the vertebral column. So we have completed the bones of the skull, the bones of the vertebral column. And now coming to the sternum and rib cage. The sternum and the rib cage. The sternum and the rib cage. So sternum is a flat bone which is present on the mid in the dorsal part of our body, that is in the front, that is on the ventral part of our body. In the mid part, you find the sternum. The sternum is a flat bone present in the ventral part, in the mid ventral part of our body, and to the sternum is a flat bone which is counted as one bone, So ventrally to the sternum and dorsally to the vertebral column, the ribs are attached. So 12 pairs of ribs are 12 pairs. Ribs are 12 pairs. Ventrally they are attached to the sternum. The ribs are ventrally attached to the sternum and dorsally to the vertebral column. So this forms a cage-like formation. So sternum, the ribs moving from front to backwards, and back is protected with the vertebral column. So it forms a cage-like formation. So ventrally there is sternum, dorsally there is vertebral column, and the ribs are moving from the ventral sternum towards the dorsal vertebral column, and hence it forms a cage-like formation. Therefore it is called as the rib cage. So this ribs, they attach at 2 points dorsally on the vertebral column, and therefore it is called as bicephalic. At 2 points they are attached to the bones, therefore they are called as bicephalic ribs, they are referred as. So that is what is sternum, is the flat bone which is present on the mid-ventral line of the body in the thorax, and the ribs, 12 pairs of ribs which are attached to the sternum ventrally and dorsally to the vertebral column. At 2 points they are attached dorsally to the vertebral column, therefore the ribs are called as bicephalic ribs. So the 12 pairs of ribs have been divided into three types. So the 12 pairs of ribs are divided into 3 types. The true ribs, the false ribs, they are also called as vertebrochondrial ribs, and finally the floating ribs. The true ribs are first pair to the 7th pair. You call them as the true ribs. The 8th, 9th and 10th pair, 8th, 9th and 10th pair are referred as the false ribs or the vertebrochondrial ribs, and the floating ribs are 11th and 12th. What is the difference between these? The true ribs are those ribs which are attached ventrally to the sternum and dorsally to the vertebral column. False ribs, ventrally they are attached to the 7th pair of rib and dorsally they are attached to the vertebral column. Floating ribs, they hang down from the vertebral column, they never move towards the ventral part. Dorsally, 2 bones hang from the vertebral column, they never move ventrally, and they are therefore called as the floating ribs. So the true ribs are 1 to 7th pair, the false ribs are the 8th, 9th and 10th, 3 pairs of false ribs and 2 pairs of floating ribs which just hang down from the vertebral column and never move towards the ventral side, towards the sternum. So these are the 3 types of ribs. So true ribs, false ribs and floating ribs. These are the three types of ribs. So 12 pairs plus 1 sternum. 12 pairs of ribs is 24 and sternum is 1. Now we shall take account of all the bones of the axial skeletal system. So initially only I told axial skeletal system comprises of 80 bones. Let us take account of all the bones. So firstly it is the skull, then the vertebral column, then the sternum, ribs, the hyoid bone, and finally the bones of the tiny bones of the ear, the tiny bones of the middle ear, the malleus, incus and stapes. They are referred as ear ossicles. They are referred as ear ossicles. Ear, the external ear pinna, ossicles or the tiny bones which are present in the middle ear. So the skull, which comprises of 22 bones, the vertebral column, which comprises of 26 bones, sternum is 1, ribs 12 pairs, which is 24, and hyoid is once again 1 bone of the buccal cavity, and the ear ossicles, they are 6 in number. So look at the count. 2 plus 6 is 8, 8 plus 1 is 9, 9 plus 1 is 10, 10 plus 10 is 20, so 0, 2 carry, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 2 is 8. Total of 80 bones in the axial skeleton. So the axial skeleton comprises of 80 bones. 22 in the skull, from the skull, vertebral column 26 bones, sternum 1 bone, ribs 24 bones, that is 12 pairs, hyoid bone is 1 in the buccal cavity, ear ossicles 1 ear, it is 3 bones, so there are 2 ears, we have 6 tiny bones, and therefore the count is 80 bones of the axial skeleton. So next, coming to the appendicular skeleton. Coming to the appendicular skeleton. So in the appendicular skeleton, we have the appendages. We have the appendages which are attached to the main axis of the body, that is the limbs. The limbs are of two types. One is the forelimb, or which you call it as the hand. The forelimb or the hand of the human body, which is called as the forelimb. Here in the appendicular skeleton, each limb consists of 30 bones. Each limb consists of 30 bones. So in human body we have got 4 limbs, so 30 into 4, it will be 120 bones. So 120 bones coming from all the 4 limbs. So each limb has got 30 bones. Now let us look into which are the bones of the forelimb. So the forelimb, that is the hand, consists of the bones like humerus, that is the shoulder bone, radius, the ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges, So humerus is 1 bone, radius is also 1 bone, ulna is also 1 bone, carpals, they are 8 in number, metacarpals, they are 5 in number, and the phalanges, they are 14 in number. So 8 plus 5 is 12. 12 plus 12 is 24 plus 2 is 24. 26, 27, 28, sorry, 8, 3 plus 8 is 11. 11 plus 5 is 16. 16 plus 14 is 30. 30 bones of each limb. So humerus is the shoulder bone. The radius and ulna are the bones which are present in this region, which is made up of two bones, the radius and the ulna. The carpals are referred as the wrist bones. They are referred as the wrist bones. So the region where you tie your watch is the wrist, and this wrist bones are 18 number and they are referred as carpals. The metacarpals are the bones of the palm. Bones of the palm are called as palm bones, and the phalanges are nothing but the digits or the fingers. Digits of bones of the digits. So phalanges are the bones of the digits, metacarpals are the bones of the palm, and carpals are the bones of the wrist. Humerus is the shoulder bone, the radius coming from the shoulder towards the knee, and this is radius, ulna, and carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges, total which accounts to 30 bones. So there are two forelimbs, one on the left and one on the right. Therefore 30 plus 30 will account for 60 bones in the forelimbs. Forelimbs comprises of 60 bones. In the same way, there are hind limbs also comprises of 60 bones, which will account to 120 bones. So these are the bones of the forelimbs. So very important, humerus 1, radius 1, ulna 1, carpals 18 number, metacarpals 5 in number, phalanges 14 in number. So now coming to the hind limbs. Hind limbs refers to the legs, the bones of the legs. So this is the hind limb, which also comprises of, which refer to the legs of human beings, and they also contain 30 bones. Each hind limb consists of 30 bones. So to start with, the femur, thode bone antiralla, that is femur, tibia, fibula. The kneecap, which is called as the patella, tarsals, metatarsals, and the phalanges. So femur is one bone, tibia is one bone, fibula is one bone, patella, the knee cap, it is called as the knee cap or knee bone, tarsals, ankle bones, they are referred as the ankle bones. So bones of the foot bones, that is metacarpals, and bones of the digits or the phalanges. So tarsals, they are 7 in number. So metatarsals, they are 5 in number, and phalanges, they are 14 in number. So take account of it. 1 plus 1 2, 2 plus 1 3, 3 plus 1 4, 4 plus 7 is 11, 11 plus 5 is 16, 16 plus 14 is 30. 30 bones of the hind limbs, that is the legs. So each hind limb has got 30 bones. So there are 2 hind limbs, therefore 30 plus 30 will be 60. 60 bones from the hind limbs and 60 bones coming from the forelimbs, which accounts for 120 bones. So 120 bones from the limbs Along with that, we also have to study the girdles. There are two important girdles which I will take in the next video. Thank you.